into it. So, like I said, today I counted the number of times I doubted myself. And it was very interesting because I've never done this exercise before. And I said, because we're doing this topic, overcoming self-doubt. And sometimes you figure that, what, I mean, I don't think I have so much self-doubt, but then I started thinking about it. I had made the decision to send my kids to a play date or a birthday party today. So that was the first area where I started doubting myself. I said, it's a school day. Why should I send them? Should I not send them? Then the second was, of course, the fact that my maid did not come. So, even on little things, the amount of self doubt that creeps into our mind. So, you can imagine at the bigger decisions. So, today we're going to be talking about how do we overcome self doubt. We've got Yoshita Swarup Sharma with us, who's the founder and CEO of A Brighter Life. This is going to be a very interactive and engaging session in which you will get an opportunity to reflect on that critical inner voice and understand a little more about dealing with it effectively. Yoshita is an internationally certified executive coach with 23 years of overall experience. Recently, she was awarded as one of the most influential coaching leaders of India by the World HRD Congress. She frequently conducts leadership workshops with marquee clients like Eruditus, Adidas, Deloitte, HDFC, ITC, and many more. So it's our absolute pleasure that she's doing this for us. She's also an avid Kathak student and co-founder of Subah, which is a COVID widow support group. So first of all, Yoshita, very warm welcome. We're excited to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sukirti. And honor is all mine. I'm also very excited to be here. Thank you for having me here.
So tell us, Yoshita, because I gave you the choice of any topic to do. Why did you choose this one?
Well, it's a topic which is very close to my heart because in the work that I've been doing over the last 10 years, where I work very closely with people and they confide so many things in me, I've realized that this is a common thread. And no matter how confident people look on the outside, but the inside goes through a lot of ups and downs. And I've myself faced that as well. So that is one reason. And the other reason is that there's a program that I launched last year, which is called Loving Your Inner Critic, right? And that kind of gave me a little bit of a more depth of understanding of what really is the cause of this self-doubt. And that's what I wanted to bring out today to this lovely audience that is here. So these are the two reasons.
So, Yoshita, you coach so many women. What is the biggest challenge? I know self-doubt is one, but what are other big challenges that you see women facing? Especially, we're hearing about the great Indian resignation, we're hearing about post-COVID depression, so many things going on.
Yeah. So I think right next to self-doubt, I would place this whole feeling of guilt that I find is very universal with women. And when I say guilt, it's almost like they're second guessing themselves. They are doing one thing, but they want to also do the other. And so that feeling of, okay, maybe I should have done that, or I should have done that, or am I doing justice enough? So it's kind of linked to self-doubt. But what I think also happens when somebody is very guilty is that it just captures a lot of your energy and it becomes very dominating and doesn't let you take a lot of steps. So I think that I see as a very big challenge in terms of and the other thing that and it's very interesting because I coach both men and women, but in women, I have found women clients talking about the imposter syndrome quite a lot. Okay. And that's very interesting too, because ultimately you're doing really well, you're up there. And at the same time, you feel as though you're an imposter, that you don't maybe not deserve to be there, or maybe somebody will find out that you're not as substantial as as they right now think. So that creates a lot of anxiety as well. And then, of course, right now, I think the third very important challenge has been the parenting side of things, with the work from home becoming so big, children being at home, and women trying to do it all. And I've even heard women wanting to go to office just to get a break. So yeah, that's really very practical and raw truth of life today for women. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit also about Subha, which is this COVID widow support group that you've started, because I think you've been giving a lot of career and other advice and helping them also get back on their feet.
Yeah, Subah has been an initiative born from the heart. It came into existence in May last year, right at the peak of wave two of COVID. And that was a time when I myself had gone through a very bad COVID and a hospitalization. And I was just glad to be back home, but I was facing huge survivor guilt. And at this, on my birthday, which is 17th of May, I got a call, and I take it like a message from the universe. And this was my friend Chandna calling to say that let's start something like this. In the last 8, 9 months, Sukirti, what I think it's been such a tremendous growth looking at women whose lives got completely shattered. And some of them are here. I can see their names on the screen. The lives got completely shattered, but the way they have turned it around and the kind of stories that have happened, just through the support of the community, as well as we have coaches, counselors. We also do some healing sessions, and we've been doing some. We had BK Shivani come in, and she did a 2-hour session with us. So we also do legal support, and we also provide them some amount of financial advising support. So just a lot of these things which women tend to leave to their husbands, suddenly it kind of becomes very, very important for them to navigate. And I think it's been a privilege. It's been an absolute privilege to be with the community now for almost 9 months. We have about 200 brave hearts who are there as part of the community.
Well, it's a really, really heart-touching endeavor. So thank you for that. And I will turn it over to you because I think everybody is dying to get started.
Absolutely. And I'm also very, very keen to get this going. So hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. And just for me to get a sense of where you are from, could you just put in the chat box where you are at this moment, which city, which place, and just that much would help me to get started. Vizag, Smita. Okay, Hyderabad. Lovely. Ranjini, of course, I need to. Hi. So good to see people from all across Hong Kong, Sonia. Amazing. Wow, fantastic.
Wow, Japan. That's amazing, Anita. Welcome. So excited to see people joining us from all over the world.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, super.
Hi, Jyoti from Abu Dhabi. Very nice. And welcome to all the Indians also from Dubai, Bangalore. This is so exciting just to see how far now that we are reaching.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to just, can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
is it visible? All right, okay. So, I myself have gone through this feeling of self-doubt where you do so much and sometimes you think that, okay, what else could I have done? Did I do enough? And somewhere the way self-doubt hits you, it leaves you thinking, it leaves you wondering that, am I not good enough, right? So I'm just going to ask you, how many of you have faced self-doubt? So can I get like a yes in the chat box or a no if you, okay, so Kirti, of course, you started it out. Wow, okay. So everyone here has faced self-doubt, which is the good news, right, guys? Because it means that it's normal, it's natural, it happens to everybody. And that is something to take heart from, right? Now, if I were to ask you, what are those situations or what are the specific points in your life where you really felt self-doubt, where it has really hit you hard? Okay, we all have this daily second guessing that we do. Should I do this? Any dilemma, any decision making. But sometimes Self-doubt does become a little debilitating. Yes, Sapna, I hear you. Parenting is one very big area, even for me, as a parent of an 18-year-old boy, young man, actually. Uh, it still continues to be a challenge. Yes. Teenage years. Yes, Smita is, yeah, absolutely. Financial decisions, relationships. When I lost my husband, Anisha is saying, okay, parenting come working. Yeah, professionally. Yes. All right. So I'm just going to get into a kind of a reflection quiz where there are going to be 10 yes or no statements just to help us understand the thoughts that happen in our mind, which kind of come in our way and create doubt. Okay. So I just want you to be ready. Okay. And you can just put in the chat box, I'm ready. If you're ready for this quiz. Okay. Just quickly. Ready? Okay. Okay, cool. So they're going to be 10 statements. And I want you to count. If you get a yes, I want you to count. You can count on your fingers. Okay. So it's pretty easy to do. All right. So if it's a true or a yes, so that you can count on your finger. Okay. So I'll just read out the statements for you. When I think of trying something new and challenging, I tend to doubt myself a lot. Okay, that's the first one. Next is, I like to avoid conflicts or confronting others. So there was a mention of relationships, right? So that's the second one. I place a lot of importance on acting according to what I think others expect from me. I'm so busy night and day, and yet I feel I have not done enough. I think this is true of most of us. Internally, I generally feel low on self-confidence. I want to speak up in meetings and forums, but something holds me back. I feel my body can be much better than it is. How many moments of self-doubt we have looking in the mirror? I'm a perfectionist and spend a lot of time making sure things are 100% okay. I feel very bad when I don't measure up to others' expectations. And the last one, I'm troubled by something I have done that I cannot forgive myself for. Okay, so I hope you've been counting out of 10, how many statements were true for you? So if
For
you
me,
have
there were
counted,
5.
for you, there were
I'm,
5.
yeah, I'm seeing Aruna saying 7, Reena 7, Anisha 4, Vandana 5, Smita 4, Pallavi 8. Wow, it's going fast. Jyoti 8, Prashant 7, Reena 3, Jigyasa 8, Vandana 6, Pratima 5, Jyoti 9, Neetu 6, Pragati 9 to 10, yes, Saranya
Wow.
5, Monica 8.
Wow. Okay, thanks so much. Thank you, Sukirti, for reading that out. And thank you all for participating in the quiz. Now, the higher the number, obviously, it means that higher is the amount of inner critic that you have, that voice, that the voice that's inside of us. We have multiple voices inside of us, but there is one voice that's always trying to find some faults. You know, it's always trying to tell you you could do better. It's always trying to, sometimes it ends up pulling you down. So for somebody who's got 7, 8, 9, or 10, I would say then that voice becomes kind of overpowering and may make you procrastinate. It may make you feel a little low about yourself. And that is when self-doubt becomes troublesome, right? So, with that being said, I also want to share that your self-doubt does not define who you are, nor does it define what you are capable of. Okay, so it is there and we acknowledge it, we understand it, and then we learn how to deal with it. So the first part, this what we just now did, the quiz, it's just to acknowledge, okay, so where am I? Where am I right now? And how big is it in my life or in my current context? Having understood that, I think we also need to spend a little bit of time understanding, why do I have so much self-doubt? Like, why? It would be so nice if there wasn't any self-doubt, isn't it? We would be just so much at ease and so confident, and life would become much freer, much lighter. So, and much brighter, which is what a brighter life is all about. So, why is there so much self-doubt? Where does it come from? What gives it strength? Okay, these are some things that we are going to now talk about. And any thoughts on this? I would love to hear if somebody has any thoughts of where this comes from, this so much of self-doubt.
Sapna says maybe the fear of being judged. Pragati
Absolutely.
says criticism from the past.
Beautiful, Pragati, bang on.
Pallavi says peer pressure.
Peer pressure, yeah.
Smita says looking for validations. Overthinking. I know, I love that T-shirt that says, "Now wait, let me overthink this." Monica says influenced by other people.
Right.
Nitu says fear of being judged, failure. Kavita says yes, overthinking. Jyoti says social pressure and overthinking. Ranjana, fear of failure. Vandana, challenges faced in the past. Aruna, childhood expectations. Sharon also says childhood experiences.
Yes. So I think you all have got that right understanding, and it's absolutely, I mean, some of you have used such beautiful words which are exactly anticipating what I have for you next, and I think we'll deep dive into it. It is a lot. So this whole fear of being judged, or this social pressure or comparison, where does this all come from? It all comes from our childhood conditioning, right? Now, what happens is it just manifests differently for different people based on, number one, the experience, and number two, the meaning that you may have made out of that experience as a young child. And so now here on your screen, I'm going to be putting out some questions that'll help you capture that. So are you ready to go back into your childhood? Because I have three things coming up which are going to be taking you back to your childhood. Okay, so before I go to the next slide, I'm going to just invite you for a moment. Just close your eyes. Everyone, just close your eyes. And I want you to think back to the time, some of the earliest memories you have. So just go back in time, go back from where 22 to go back to, 10 years back, 20 years back, 30 years back. Just that happened. And see yourself as a young, small child. Maybe you were 5 years old, as far back as you can remember. Even if the memories are fuzzy, it doesn't matter. Just go back to the house that you were living in. Go back to the people who were there around you in the house, your family members, maybe grandparents, siblings, cousins, uncles, aunts, if it was a joint setup. And reflect also on other people, friends, neighbors, people in school. Just go back and connect to things that you would love doing as a child. Fun times you had as a child. And think back to your happiest happiest memories, the time when you felt really proud of yourself? Okay, now you can open your eyes. I hope you were able to connect with you, the child. Now, my question to you is this: what were you praised for as a child, as a young child? What were you praised for? When was it that adults doted on you? What was your behavior which was really appreciated? Think about that. Pragati is saying for being a good girl and submissive. Sister
Disciplined
was
and
praised for.
polite. Nothing really, Aruna is saying. Aparna is saying for being very friendly and up for anything. Sapna is asking as a child, yes. Kirti, good in academics. Shanghi, patience. Smita, well mannered. Sapna for taking good care of guests and house. Jyoti, being stress free. Shilpa, academic. Vandana for being well mannered. Sapna for being hardworking. Anisha, academics. Pankari for being disciplined, Anita for being a good dancer and helping choreographing Diwali dances, Saranya for behaving well, Vandana for being a good dancer.
How
So I
wonderful.
see this thread, this academics and good behavior. Vandana also says, Davansh Kakar saying for being a good boy. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, good girl, good boy, there was a definition that got created through the praise that we received, either we received or we saw other people being praised for, right? So, as a child, children are very observant. If you've seen young children, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, very, very observant, inquisitive, and they observe how adults, what do adults reward us for, right? And uh, and that becomes one set of rules, that this is the rule that I need to follow. Like Anisha has to be polite. Okay. Aruna says that I was not praised, my sister was praised. Again, there is, when that happens, when you see your sister being praised more than you, there is going to be a lot of self doubt, that why don't I deserve praise, right? So that is how it gets created. Again, somebody had mentioned submissive. Somebody said taking good care of guests and housework, Sapna has said, right? What does that mean? It means that's the guilt that I was talking about. Now, if you feel that you're not taking that good care of the home aspect, it's going to create so much of self-doubt in you. Am I right, Sapna? You could just drop me a yes if that works for you. Again, though nobody has really mentioned that specific word, nobody has really mentioned, but how many of you feel that you were praised when you were an obedient child? Obedient child, right? So just sincere, hardworking, responsible, obedient, which means that there were certain things that you were not supposed to do. So, for example, let's say in the previous quiz, you said yes for um, avoiding confrontation. You know where that rule is coming from. It's coming from as a child when you were told no talking back to elders. Now, that you may have grown up, 3 decades may have passed, but the rule hasn't changed, right? So let's go to the next question. And again, this is very, very insightful. What were you criticized for or blamed for? There may be some memory that could come to your mind where it felt like the whole world was against you and they were all blaming you and criticizing you and finding you not good enough. And as a little child, it becomes very difficult not to hear and believe the voices of the adults, for being stubborn, for not listening, not bothering about what people will say,
Not
not
keeping up my
keeping.
family reputation. Yeah, Anisha says for not eating properly, Sapna talking to boys, Pallavi says for being stubborn, asking too many questions, Sukanya talking back, Jyoti for being adamant, Pragati for acting against the wishes of parents, Sapna for being fond of eating. I always got criticized for talking too much, so I put that there too. Nimisha says for not scoring good marks, Pankudi says for taking risks. Okay.
Yeah. So, depending on the family culture, there's certain things that are valued a lot, right? Like in some families, it's your social reputation is very important. Family ki izzat, and everything gets, and you keep wondering what is this all about. As a child, you don't understand it, but you keep wondering. Or like what Sukirti said, that talking too much, I've heard that from so many women. I cannot tell you how many, girls who not, they shouldn't, their voices shouldn't have been heard. I mean, that was in some of the families, that's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of rules that were there. Talking back to was out of the question. Right? I remember, I had gone to visit my mamaji, and my cousins were there, and my elder cousin brother, he wanted to play football, but he had reached grade 10 or 12 or something, and he had been a footballer, state team and all that. And he was told that he has to now quit. He was just given a diktat that you have to now quit, you can't continue. And I remember he was trying to make his case, and my uncle just raised his hand like this. That's enough. And after that, he didn't utter a single word. And I was watching that and I was like, oh my God. So, what happens when you get criticized or blamed for something? That also becomes your inner critic, because there is a rule there. Again, you see, there are rules here. Speaking your mind. Yeah, we don't speak our mind, because if we speak our mind, there is a backlash. So that becomes my rule. Now, next time I have to stand up for myself now as an adult. I will keep thinking, should I, shouldn't I? What will happen? How will they think? What will they feel? What will they say about me? So it all gets into that loop. And that's really what this one is about. And then there's a third one, which I think is also equally powerful, which is, who was I compared with as a kid, and for what, right? So I saw Aruna was saying that, yeah, so for studies, yes,
Peer
peer
pressure. Aruna says exactly, an easy one for me.
pressure.
Sister all the way.
Yeah. So Aruna, what were you found wanting? I'm assuming that sister was praised and you were criticized. And why was that? What were you doing that for which you were being criticized?
Kirti says study, sister and class topper.
Yes.
Uh,
So there's always some person who parents kind of want to give you as a role model, and they end up comparing you. But what it does also is that it creates a need for validation.
Couple of
So,
interesting points have come up. Aruna is, of course, saying more talented, probably prouder than me. But Smita says, my parents never compared, but I was doing it. And
right.
Sukanya says, and I feel that this is something that actually a lot of kids are facing, that parents were super brilliant.
Yes,
Pragati says, mothers, friends, daughters were far more intelligent.
yes, yes. So what happens is that there is a benchmark that you've got as a kid, that this is how, it is to be, this is the right way to be. And whether it's an adult, like in the left side, or a peer, or a sibling, or a cousin, what has happened is that at that time you may have found wanting to be like someone, but over a period of time, the remnant of that is that, okay, I should not be how I am. Ultimately, that's the ultimate story that we tell ourselves, that okay, should I be like this, should I be like that, should I be like my neighbors, am I doing enough? So why does that happen? That happens because of all these three things. What was I praised for? What was I criticized for? Who was I compared with, and for what? And for what, in the sense of, again, what is it that is being valued in my family? What is being valued socially, which is something that I must live up to? So what I've found is that this inner voice just keeps getting stronger and stronger the more we have these kind of things that we are carrying with us from our earliest days. And some of these rules are no longer relevant. And in some of the coaching that I do with leadership levels, I I actually work in this area to help people understand that, okay, guys, you now have the power to change the rules. You have the power to change the rules. There is no need to get boxed in by something that happened 35 years ago. So just wanting you to now maybe connect some dots. And you told us right now about your childhood. You told us about your rules of childhood. Now, tell me, what are the judgments that you have accepted that you think limit your joy, your freedom, your expression, your decisions today? What is that rule that you have believed about yourself? And it could be anything. It could be, and it would be about your present life. It would not be about what happened as a kid, but it becomes a belief system. Smita is saying, I met a little girl in 7th grade who is scared of studies and she has to do for becoming a doctor, as her parents want her to. 7th grader going for coaching, seriously. Oh yes, 7th grader is 13 years old, and today the kind of pressure that 13-year-olds, 13 to 16, 17-year-olds are facing is immense. It's immense. Okay, Kirti, I love that. Do things what my family wants me to, taking their wishes over mine. I think you speak for so many people, where we learned that others' needs are so much more important than our own needs, and we deprioritize our own well-being.
Pragati says to prove better than others and get acclaim from all around. Monica says my own ambition becomes biggest issue as my husband expects me to be a goody-goody wife. Smita says something I still face. It's not your age to do this.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So just commenting here, let's say what Pragati is saying, to prove better than others and get acclaim from all around. So one of the things that I've come to understand is that we all have these unmet needs, and which we try to fulfill through the rest of our adult life. We have those unmet needs as a child, the need for just being unconditionally adored and loved, irrespective of whether I was good at studies or whether I was well behaved or whether I was talking too much or any of that, right? And sometimes when other people got more praise, that kind of brought in you that need that I also want that validation. And so I see so many people who are wanting to, but then they're also holding themselves back, perhaps not believing that I can do this. And for that reason, I feel that it becomes so important that we look at the rules and we say, okay, this was the rule I had when I was a 5-year-old, what are the rules that I want to have now, right? I'm just going to go ahead and say, what are the new rules that I would like to have now? So you've connected the dots. And one of the biggest, and I'll give you one of my own examples of how self-doubt has plagued my life, okay? So I was in marketing, and then I moved and I got affiliated with a leadership firm. And I was working with them, and the way I was working with them was on a retainership model. And I realized that I wanted something more, and I was thinking of starting my own venture and not having an exclusive contract with that firm. So I don't know how long I procrastinated on that decision. Every time I thought I would do it, but then I would think, no, no, no. And there's another voice, this critical, rule-based voice in my head saying, no, you need the regular paycheck. You need that security. If you do this, then what's going to happen? And so my fear, my insecurity, and the rules of childhood, where it was good to be in service and not so good to be in business. Okay. And so that was a huge rule. It was such a big rule for me that it became so difficult for me to take that decision, till one day I was talking to my mom, and she was saying the same things that that critical inner voice would tell me. And then I realized, oh boy, that's not my voice. And I realized that I had actually got that voice inside of me. And that was telling me that this is the rule, that you have to go for security. You can't take risks. I think somebody has said, don't take risks, right? So don't be a business
job.
stable job. Yeah. The money, that paycheck at the end of the month is very important, and all of that. And yeah, regular income. Yes. So just being able to recognize that that rule is something that I don't want to live by any longer. And I want to create a new rule. And I have the choice, I have that power to do that. I think that was extremely liberating for me. And I hope some of you are being able to make that connection for wherever you are in your life, right? Whichever aspect of life where you are facing self-doubt, I think you can ask yourself, what are the rules that are stopping me, right? So sometimes I find that there are a lot of women who want to restart working, but there are so many perceptions and so many beliefs that they have created about themselves, about being a homemaker, being a mother. This is the only kind of, that they're just not able to move past that. And my invitation to everyone is to take that power back, to say that I have a choice to make new rules. Okay, so that is something, it's never too late. Yeah, Smita, it's never too late. No, yeah. Okay, I see a lot of comments. I'm just going to take a pause and see what choice plus risk plus confidence is success. Yes, Jyoti, I love that equation. Thank you for that. Don't go for chartered accountant, but go for teaching, as it is half-day job, and then has been discouraged to do further research for taking care of kids. Yes. So we have, what we call the inner patriarch, and then we have patriarchy outside. And that is one of the things that is so remarkable, that even when women really, really want to go out, and they really want to go out and do stuff, but that conditioning, that voice inside which says this is how a woman should be, that is again one of the biggest sources of self-doubt. What a woman should be like. And I'm sure that you all have faced that, and I could see that this whole thing about not going for a chartered accountant kind of a job, but taking a teaching job is classic. It's so classic. I've heard that from many, many different people. Yeah. And Smita is saying, yes, teaching is as taxing. Absolutely. Yeah. No need for finance, then why to leave home for working? Yeah, that's again a big one. And I think yeah, in some families that financial independence for women is considered to be a big thing, but in certain other families, it's like it's almost taboo that we don't send our women out to
To
work.
work.
Yeah, and yeah, so you're living by those rules. But when I say that we have an inner patriarch, what I'm talking about is that there's something, while we may want to, but we also stop ourselves. We also make ourselves listen to that voice of that's coming from outside, and we kind of, because we are the obedient person, the good mother, the good bahu, whatever. So we are following into that rule, and then we also say that, okay, fine, yes, I understand, and like that. And then we say, okay, now I'm at the bottom of the list, of the priority list. So it's tricky, it's not easy, but it is possible. And what I'm going to now share with you is just my top tips of how, over a period of time, I have worked on overcoming self-doubt. So these are just my things that I've tested. Anything that I'm putting out here is tried and tested, at least on me, and also on some of the other people that I work with. Okay, so it's coming purely from experience. And so today I'm going to give you this five top tips to overcome your self-doubt, other than the one that I already told you, which was about make new rules. Okay. And so let me just tell you what these tips are. So I've created this acronym SAGAR for you. This is especially for sipping thoughts. Okay, just got created today.
So we'll have to trademark it now.
So just as I was putting this together for you all, I thought this is a beautiful word, sagar, because it captures what is your potential. It captures, it's like you're like an ocean, you're awesome. And here are my 5 tips. So the first one, S, is for self-love and self-care. And I think here what I'm talking about, of course, there's reams and reams on what is self-love and what's self-care, but here the context is to nourish yourself. Okay, when you have self-doubt, it's okay to have self-doubt. And now you know from the number of people on this call that a lot of us struggle with that. But please don't talk yourself down. Don't talk down. Don't talk to yourself like you will talk to your best friend or to your child who's hurting. That's the way your inner conversation should happen. Okay, so that I think is the most important aspect of self-love. How do we talk to our own self? Do we put ourselves down? Do we curse ourselves? Do we use words like, oh, I'm such an idiot? Oh, I'm so
stupid.
Yeah. So when you do that, you are giving a lot of food to your inner critic. Please don't do that. Understand that the inner critic is coming from the space of vulnerability, from the space of unmet needs, which is fair. But you don't have to continue doing that to yourself. So that's the most important thing, self-love and self-care. And if you feel that, okay, I don't feel confident and I don't feel capable in this particular thing, work on it. Work on it. Don't just feel bad about it. Work on it. That's part of nourishing yourself. Okay, so that's the first point, self-love and care. The second one, and this I think is very close to my heart, is being aware of your strengths. I'm going to invite all you beautiful people to put in the chat box, what do you think are your top 3 strengths? What are your top 3 strengths? And it could be strengths, it could be passions, it could be talent, it could be your gift, anything that energizes you, which you know you're really good at. Okay, some quality. I'm talking about some quality. Yeah, so creating network, socializing, beautiful. Listening, Aruna is saying, beautiful. Anita also. High self-esteem, Sukanya, beautiful. people's person, organized, efficient, good at starting new things. Yes, Sukirti, we can see that. Lovely.
Sangi
Thank
says smile, patience, and interpersonal skills.
Beautiful.
Vandana says
Good.
planning and execution. Smita says love myself. Pallavi says verbal skills, management, and understanding. Sapna, Neetu says quick learner, passionate and organized. Jyoti says positive attitude, motivation, behavior, communication skills. Priyanka says genuity. Akshita says creativity, hard work, people's person. Sukanya says such lovely qualities everyone has. I'd second that. Pragati says hard working, patience, and planning.
Yes, fantastic. So, my dear friends, I want to give you a small challenge, okay, for after today's call. I want you to reach out to 10 people you know and tell them I attended this workshop and I was asked to list my qualities. And I would like you to tell me what are my top 3 qualities from your perspective. Okay. And you will be delighted and amazed at the kind of stuff you will hear. You will also hear um, many people saying the same thing, which that becomes like your stellar thing. That's like your khazana, right? When you see 3 people are saying the same thing. So when we do this in corporate, we call that stakeholder feedback. But I think in life as well, it's very important in all our relationships for us to know what people see as our strengths. It's a great gift to give yourself. Okay. So how many people are willing to do this? Can you just type in the chat box, I will do it.
Not
Yeah.
sure
Oh,
about
yeah.
10, but maybe 5. And maybe I'll get motivated after that because they'll say so many great things.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Oh, too embarrassed. Why? Aruna, I want to appreciate you. Let me start right now by appreciating you for your vulnerability,
And
your ability
honesty.
and honesty, right? And your willingness to look at yourself. All of these are fantastic qualities. Okay, so you got 3 from me. And Sukirti.
I also unmuted Aruna because I think, uh, I would wanted her to respond to that. Smitha says, I tried doing this once before. Not many people responded.
Okay, Smita. So maybe it's about the way you frame it. So if you give them the context, then you will find that they will respond. So if you say that I was in a workshop and this is a homework that I'm doing for my own, building my own self-awareness, and I would really appreciate if you could tell me my top 3 qualities. So say it like that. And yeah.
Aruna says this is like therapy. Yes.
Big hug to you, Aruna.
Smita,
Okay.
you can send it to me. I will give you the 3 feedback also.
All right. Fantastic. So that's number 2 then, awareness of strengths. Number 3 is gratitude to self. Now we all do, we know we have to practice gratitude. We are very grateful for our house, for our family, for people who love us. All that is good and all that is also absolutely appreciated. But do you appreciate yourself? Right? Do you take the time out at the end of the day to say, wow, what all did I do today, man? I'm too good. I'm awesome. Because you are. Because you are. There is an effort that you put into so many things. And just because you are who you are, you can be grateful to yourself. And I love to do that sometimes, when I'm feeling low or I'm feeling I should have done so much more, then I would just take a diary and I start writing things that I'm grateful to myself for. And if you increase the time horizon, make it last 1 week, things that I'm grateful for myself, right? To myself, sorry. You'll be amazed to read that list. So can we type one thing here in the chat box? One thing that I'm grateful to myself for. Can you please type that? Let's see what comes up.
Hmm. This one requires thinking. Pankuri says family. Saranya says caring for others. Smita says living alone in a new city with my daughter. Pragati
Wow.
says for being patient with myself. Shweta says supporting my family. Grateful for my daughter. Don't give
Yeah,
up easily.
Monica, you have to be grateful to yourself. So, what are you grateful to yourself for? Like,
Nina,
I'm thanking me.
yes.
Sorry.
Nina says for all the support universe has showed me till now. Ranjani says my resilience when pushed against the wall. Shilpa says for my choices.
Awesome.
Anisha says for not hurting feelings of others. I think this is hard because we're so used to thinking about being grateful for other things that it's a really tough question. I'm even struggling with it. So I'll be honest with you. As you notice, I haven't put in my response yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what it's wonderful, isn't it, if we can bring this practice in, because this is a practice of self-acceptance, and this is a practice of self-love. So if we can bring this into our routine, it will really quieten the critical voice down, because there is so much evidence that you are gathering about all the wonderful things that you are doing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know some excellent. Vidhi is saying for never giving up. Smita is saying for making a huge effort to bag the first project after 5 years and getting it. Monica is saying she's the only best thing happened for me. Otherwise, I have forgotten about my strengths.
Hmm. Yes. So your daughter helps you find your strength. That's wonderful. And that strength is there bubbling in you. That's also wonderful, isn't it? Okay, super. So I think we've done SAG so far. Okay. Now I'm coming to another A. Oh no. So first, before that, there's this exercise. I want you to complete this sentence. I am worthy when. I am worthy. When do you feel worthy? So if you have to appreciate yourself, you need to feel worthy about it, right? So when do you feel worthy? So this is a fill in the blank. I am worthy when.
Papli says, I always try to do my work honestly. I say, when I make progress in anything, I feel I'm worthy. Akshada says, when I feel proud of myself. Pragati says, when I stand in class and teach well. Sweta says, when I fill my wishes. Smita says, I'm becoming a better person than what I was. Kirti says, rather than when, I would say, I should always feel worthy. Aruna says, when people say I have done a good job. Neha says, independence and progress. Akshita says, by giving my 100%. Jyoti says, I feel worthy when I get a smile on another person's face. Pankuri says, when I've made significant achievement at work. Pallavi says, when I'm consistent, I feel worthy regardless. That's awesome. Sharon says, when I'm true to myself. And Anju says, I feel worthy when I have financial stability, independence, and look hot. I love that. Vandana says, when others feel great.
Anju, good to hear from you after a long time. Okay, happy to see you here. Thank you so much, Sukiti. I think a few people who wrote I'm worthy regardless knew that this is a trick question that I've put up, because it is a trick question. It's a trick question. It's like, yeah, what are you basing your worth on? And are you not worthy just for being who you are? Does it have to be dependent on something outside of you? Does it have to be dependent on something that is, an achievement, so-called achievement? That is again a rule, right? So for example, when you say when I'm consistent or when I'm financially independent, these are also some, there are also, these are inner drivers, these are our rules. And I'm inviting you to start practicing this affirmation that I am worthy as I am. I am worthy, full stop. Not when, not because. I am worthy. That's it. right? And then if you start doing that, again, you will notice that there is much less self-doubt because you started becoming your own best friend. There's more self-acceptance and more self-worth. And I have over here some affirmations for confidence. I would love for you to just take a screenshot if you want to. I
And
accept
I
and
will share them too. If you send them to me, I'll put them on the Facebook also.
okay, super. I'll do that. I accept and approve of myself exactly as I am. Just that one line. I even, there's a version of it which Louis Hay uses. I love and accept myself exactly the way I am. So then you do not have to do something in order to be worthy. You do not have to get to a point in order to be worthy. But from a place of worthiness, from a place of self-acceptance and self-love, you can just be your best version. And that is, again, very, very empowering. Okay, so that's that. And then the last one is reframing. And this is sometimes when none of the other four are working. What we need to do is we need to listen to that voice, and we need to listen to what is its fear, what is it telling us, and we need to find another way of looking at that. So for example, let's say I'm full of doubt because I have this big presentation coming up, and there's my voice is saying, oh my God, you're going to make so much of a mess, and God knows what you're going to do, and this and that. Then you reframe that sentence to say, I am giving it my best shot, or I am going to do the best preparation that I can and leave the rest. So that's a reframing. So what that does is it shifts the perspective. It shifts what you're focusing on. You move away from that fear and anxiety to something that is in your control, right? And that, again, is extremely, extremely, extremely powerful, because when you do this, when the way you will articulate it to yourself, the way you will verbalize, that is the way that you will visualize it. So if I verbalize or vocalize saying that I'm going to give it my best shot, I'm going to be really prepared for this, I will start visualizing, okay, what does that look like? What should I be doing? And that will give me that energy to actually go and take that action versus saying, oh my God, this is such an important presentation. What if I mess this up? Oh, it's so high stakes. So-and-so is going to be there. So-and-so is going to be there. Oh my God, I don't know where to begin. So if you are focusing there and you're vocalizing that, it is going to drain you. Whereas if you can change your framing of that, it suddenly feels much more empowering and it gives you the energy to take action. So that is what I'm requesting you to do, is to shift the frame with which you are seeing that same situation to what is in my power, what is in my control. I'm realizing that I'm speaking a lot and it's almost time up. So yeah, so this is just I think almost the last slide, which is the 5 ways. This is just a recap slide. Self-love, awareness, gratitude to self, affirmations, and reframing. So these are my top 5 picks to overcome self-doubt. And they work over a period of time. And they work when you bring this into a habit, right? In the short run, reframing can work in the short run, like right here, right now. And over the long run, as you build your confidence, the rest of the things will help you make it more consistent. So on that note, I'm going to take a pause. Okay, so some comments here. And
so Monica is saying, actually, it happened, people. Tell us something negative once and we repeat it 100 times and finally it becomes a belief system.
yes.
If anybody would like to quickly ask some questions, please do raise your hand or let me know. I would love to unmute you. So if anybody has some quick questions for Yoshita, please do let me know. Raise your hand. You can type it either way.
Okay.
Aruna says, brilliant session. Not to Sukirti, brilliant session to Yoshita. Anybody, any questions?
Thank
Otherwise,
you.
I will ask Yoshita for her closing thoughts.
I think there's a question from Jyoti. How can we do this on a daily basis? The
Perfect.
way to do this on a daily basis, Jyoti, there are two, three things. You can definitely start doing your gratitude practice, self gratitude, self affirmation. Those are two things you can do on a daily basis. Number three is you could also journal to see that during the day, what is my inner critical voice telling me? Right. So you start noticing, you become very aware of that inner critical voice, and that kind of you can separate out that voice. Once you've journaled it enough, maybe for 15 days, you will start noticing, oh, this is when this voice really becomes powerful, and that gives you a lot of focus to say, okay, stop, I don't want to hear this, I've got to reframe that. So that's some of the things you can do on a daily basis.
Go ahead, Pragati. You had a question.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I just want to ask that this self criticism constantly goes on, and sometimes it converts into the anxiety at times. So,
Mhm.
how to, I have been doing affirmations, I have attended so many courses, but I'm just telling you the recent, incident that as soon as this pandemic is over and the colleges and schools are opening, I just got into the anxiety and it went on for many days. And I
Mm.
don't know, I have been teaching for 20 years, but after 2 years of online teaching, I got so much anxiety for the offline classes that it
Yeah.
took me nearly 1 week to,
Mm.
patiently I tried to overcome that. So, how to deal with this?
Yeah, sure. So, firstly, thank you for asking that question, Pragya. Not just on your behalf, I think there are many people who would have faced that. I think what has happened in the pandemic is that it has brought all our fears to the surface. Okay. And a lot of these fears are in the subconscious mind. And so you start experiencing intense anxiety, which is brought forth because of all the circumstances that are happening around you. So, my one request is, if you can insulate yourself a little bit from all negative news, okay, that I think is extremely powerful. When you are already in that negative space, I can give you one. I don't know, you said you've been doing affirmations, but there is a very beautiful affirmation, which is, I trust the process of life and I'm completely safe. Okay, I trust the process of life and I'm completely safe. If you can use this affirmation, do it daily, quite a few times, you will start, your attention will start going to how the universe is taking care of you. And so that is one. And another thing is that you may want to, if this has happened and if the anxiety is such that it is making you dysfunctional in some way, that you feel too scared, or it starts interfering with your regular daily activities, then please reach out and take some help. Right, these are the
Go
two
ahead.
things I can share.
Thank
The
you.
third,
Go ahead. Oh,
yeah, and one more thing is about breathing. So one of the things that one of the teachers that I really follow is Thich Nhat Hanh, and Thich Nhat Hanh has a book on fear. Okay, there's a book called Fear itself. I would highly recommend you get that book. But basically, what the master says is that if you lie down and just put your hand on your belly and feel that wave of anxiety come and go, without getting into that, oh, now why am I getting so anxious? It's okay to get anxious. A lot of us are getting anxious. I can tell you, after the pandemic, when I took my first flight after a year and a half, I was so scared. So it's natural because we've gone through a very intense traumatic collective experience. Okay, so just bring your attention to your breath, watch the breath slowly, and calm your breathing down.
Yoshita, please spell the name of the author too. A lot of people are asking for the book Fear.
Yeah, it's tick. So it's THICH. Tick. Nhat is NHAT, and Hun, HANH. Do you want me to write it here? I
That'll
could
be
do that.
great. Namina, go
Yeah,
ahead.
somebody's already done that.
Great.
Yeah, thanks,
Meena,
Anuj.
go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for addressing me and my question here. So, ma'am, I just want to ask you one thing. There are few past experience that is coming from the last 15, 10 years. So it's like sometimes it come up like being a human being. If I'm talking or if I'm just sitting and I'm thinking, the mind, especially at the night time when the mind is taking me at the booting time, so many thoughts came by that time, but which makes me sometimes feeling hurt, and I feel confidence a little low. So how I should tackle in that case, especially if I'm talking someone nearby my family. My father, I lost my father in 2020. So when I'm talking with my mother, so she is very much low now also. So it sometimes it becomes very difficult for me to make her happy. I know that's a loss and I'm also working on it. How can I make her to believe that still we have a very beautiful life ahead, and if we want we can make it very much beautiful. So please help me here.
Okay, so there are two parts to your question, the way I understood it. First is that at night you get some thoughts which disturb you, and the second is about your mother and helping her cope with the loss, right, of your father, right? Are we talking about these? Am I right, Meena?
Yes.
Okay.
Meena, go ahead. I think she's muted herself. Let
Okay.
me ask her to
Okay.
unmute.
So first part of your question, the answer to that would be, please create a nighttime routine that will put you in the right frame of mind. And for that, see, like I'll tell you, how do we take care of our body? At night, we will wash our face, we put some night cream on, or if we'll put some Vaseline, we'll do some exercise, we'll change into a night suit. So we do a lot of physical activities to get the body into that feeling that, okay, now it's time for me to go to bed and I need to relax. Similarly, you do something for your mind as well. That could be either put on some spiritual music on YouTube, put an om chanting, put on write your journal, write gratitude journal. So write down 10 things I'm grateful for today, what happened today, 10 things that I'm grateful for, right? So you create such a beautiful night ritual that there is no chance you are not giving your mind that opportunity to go into what happened 10 years back, because you know that that's not going to serve any purpose. And if you are doing this actively for yourself, and I can suggest to you, there is an app called calm.com. There's another app called Black Lotus. Highly recommend that you get Black Lotus, maybe download Black Lotus or calm.com, and just get into that zone with yourself, and maybe gift something like that to your mother as well, right? And as far as grief is concerned, I think the only thing, and there are so many of us here, I see a lot of people from the Subah community here today, who are all coping up with the loss of their spouses. You could ask your mom to join Subah if she would so like, because everybody there is almost everybody there, other than the volunteers, are in that space. Have what but as a daughter, I think what you need to understand is that grief does take time. And while as children, we really think it's our job to make parents happy, okay, but we also need to give them that space to grieve. Don't be in a hurry. Sometimes it can take a really long time for people to grieve, and that's absolutely okay. You can't rush the process. But if you have a community like Subah, that community supports each other, and then they all learn from each other. If that's okay with you, Sukirti, can I invite one person from Subah to share
Sure.
for?
We have a couple of more questions. Let's just take Vidhi and I'll unmute the person. Would you like
Thank
me
you
to
so much.
go ahead? Go ahead, Vidhi. Who would you like me to Unmute.
I would like to request Anjana, maybe she could also give her, because Anjana is a brave heart, and she also went through something very similar recently, and maybe she could also tell something from her experience to Meena, which would help her. Meena.
Vidhi, you can ask your question. I've asked Anjana to unmute.
Okay, thanks for this opportunity. So my question is that is it important to forgive people who have perpetuated those faulty rules in us, and in order to move on and set new rules? And I also just want to share like my personal experience that um, that because of some like cumulative childhood issues which was repetitive and in nature, there is a lot of fear that has been installed in me, and of course a lot of self-doubt. And as such, I keep hearing people telling me that we need to forgive people, but I also feel it's a form of a self betrayal, to invalidate and just forget like nothing happened. And and I feel like we just overestimate this forgiveness a lot. So I was just hoping to know your thoughts on it, and in case it is important to move on and set new rules, then how can we do that? How can we forgive people who were supposed to provide a helping hand, but actually led to the sabotage of your soul, if you believe in that?
Yeah. Vidhi, that's a very powerful question. First of all, thank you for sharing that. That couldn't have been easy. I think I also work as an inner child therapist, and that is about such kind of experiences that people have had, girls and boys, where there has been so much betrayal. And there's a lot of unexpressed anger, unexpressed sadness, betrayal, maybe abandoning, right? Forgiveness is a part of the healing, but it comes later. The first thing to do is to find a safe way to express your unexpressed feelings. And for that, because that is the part of your healing. See, you have to understand that person is living on their life. Their life hasn't changed in any way. What has happened is you have been scarred. So your, how should I put it? Your duty is to yourself for your own healing. Forgiving others. Why is there so much focus on forgiveness? Is because if I'm angry, it's like a burning coal that I'm holding in my hand. And I want to throw it at somebody, but actually it's just burning my hand and I'm holding it very tightly. So now the process of letting go of that burning coal is not so simple. I cannot just say, oh, I've forgiven that person. No, I have to go through a process where I will understand what happened. I would express it. I would give voice to all my unsaid, unexpressed thoughts. And I have to find, once I've done that, once I'm empty of that anger, once I'm empty of that hurt, the forgiveness will come naturally. So it's a journey. It's a journey. And to get you started, I would say find an inner child therapist and work with them to help you overcome this, because this is not something that I recommend you do on your own. Anything where there has been immense child abuse, like where you said it's hurt you at a soul level, that's a very powerful statement. So I would say just try and get somebody who's capable to help you with that. Okay.
Yoshita, I know we have taken a lot of your time. I apologize for that. We've gone really above the session, but how can people get in touch with you? And that I will ask also for your last closing comments.
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of closing comments, I think, first of all, I'm extremely grateful to have this interaction, and I hope people found something meaningful here. I can be reached at on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn as Yoshita Swarup Sharma, and I can also be linked, and I also have put my website URL here with my name, so you can also see that. Yeah, Yoshita Swarup Sharma. Yes, that's right. You can find me on LinkedIn like that. And thank you so much, Kirti, and Sipping Thoughts for giving this platform. And I'm so grateful, really deep gratitude to you for the work that you're doing and creating the space to have such conversations. I'm really thankful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. I know there were lots of questions. Please do reach out to Yoshita. And for people, like I said, the Subah community, especially for people that are dealing with grave loss, it's a great community to be part of that support group. So please do join that also. So I wish you all a very good night and see you back on Thursday. A little bit of a different session, but I think you guys would love that too. So have a very good night.
Thank you.